Hello, everyone. Welcome to our fashion show. I'm so glad to see you all here. I'm just going to make this short and sweet. We have a really exciting show. There's a lot of moving parts. That's a little hint. A lot of really interesting garments. I just want to say thank you to all the supporters of our designers and of our department. They can't come out here and do the things they do without being able to be supported in their lives outside of school. So when they are stressed and working really hard and staying out at school for all hours, trying to get their garments done or trying to produce a fashion show, they can go home or to friends and find that support. They need it, and I thank you for that, because sometimes you don't realize what a role you guys play. You should find almost 100 garments today. And so some of the garments are Clothing Construction 1. There's a lot of them. That is our very beginning sewing class. These are students who may have never touched a sewing machine. And then the designer segments that you'll see are students who have been here for 2 years. And you'll see a vast difference in it, but you'll also see some pretty talented first years who have great Clothing Construction 1 garments. So look for them next year as they walk the runway. But enjoy the show. I'm so glad you're here. That's it.
I know this is a student-run show. What exactly does that mean?
Students will design, produce, run, and execute the fashion show. They think of lighting, of music. The promotion students will do everything from social media to ticket sales and posters and brochures. So everything that anybody sees today will be their work. What are the main steps in designing and creating a garment for the fashion show?
The students started designing and thinking about their collection even before the semester started. We met during spring break. We brainstormed some concepts. So at the beginning of the semester, they already had some ideas of what they wanted to work on. So as far as the steps, it was first inspiration development, and we went into sketching the designs, taking a trip to a fabric store, sourcing their fabrics for the designs. And then after that, starting to work in muslin. So making their first samples of their garments in muslin, test fabrics, then fittings with models. And then after that, after making adjustments, going into fashion fabric. So it's quite a long process.
So we do a model call, and it's a school-wide call, and it also includes our social media feeds. So sometimes we get wannabe models who are friends of ours or who are part of our social media. We put out a call early in the semester and end up with models for the fashion show. This year we have over 60 models. So they practice their runway walks, turns, go through countless fittings with your students, making sure all the garments look as best as they can. So it's a lot of fun and a lot of work.
Yeah, I definitely feel the energy in the department when they're working on the model casting.
Where does the inspiration for the students' garments come from?
As an instructor, this is the part that's the most fun for me. I really enjoy seeing students come up with their inspiration. It's a very personal thing, and I think that's what's so exciting about it. They really sort of kind of dig deep and kind of really figure out, like, what is it that inspires me in my work. And so then they start pulling visuals. They first start with images, and maybe it goes into working with fabric on the form. And I think what's exciting about it is just how organic the process is. It's just really kind of exploring, experimenting, and what I've always found is that students just discover something new about themselves and where they want to go and what they want to be as a designer.
How many outfits are students required to make for the show?
We start with a lot of ideas, now we're down to 6, and sort of the idea is that they're going to work on the construction of their garments, but not necessarily all 6 will work. And so that really gives students the opportunity to kind of pick and choose the things that are going to work the best, that's going to have the outcome that they're looking for. And so I think that flexibility really kind of helps ease the anxiety for some of the students of making everything perfect, because it's not how it actually works. There's always going to be something that doesn't work. But ultimately, we'd like them to develop at least 4 outfits for the fashion show. Whose garments are we going to be seeing in the show?
Every making class has to produce garments, and those students are allowed to put their garments in the show if they are good enough. Most of them are. But so the audience might see like 10 of the same dress because 10 students all had to make that dress. It'll have different details on it, it'll be in different colors, and it'll fit entirely different depending on how the student made it. So we have embellishment and draping classes, 2 pattern drafting classes, and 2 clothing construction classes. So there will be a making class in between each design studio section.
And I think that's what's really exciting about that type of format for the show is I think the audience really gets a sense of how our students have developed their skills over time, really seeing from their first level construction courses to their capstone design class. And yeah, it's really exciting to see that development.
What are the important skills and experiences students will take away from this class?
In terms of skills and experiences, I think you can kind of look at it in sort of like two ways. The first is the creative side of it. I think the program and the class really encourages students to be as creative as they can, really taking their ideas and developing it. As far as the technical, it's making sure the students have the skills that's going to be required in the industry. So learning those skills and practice. It's really all about practice. They're not going to necessarily learn everything all at once and do it right all at once, but just repetition and just really kind of finding what they like to do and practicing that. Who should we be thanking for the show?
There are so many people to thank. So different divisions or departments within our division. So cosmetology, culinary, MPTV, photography, graphic design. But then we also have the school backing. So we have conference and events. That team does an incredible job working with us to make our show venue exactly the way we want. We have facilities that bends over backwards to make sure we get everything set up in a very short window of time. It really does take a lot of people to create this show. I'm really thankful that everyone participates and we're so well supported. Because this is not an easy endeavor for just students to put together. So you do need a school backing behind you, and we have that.
I would say my first memory would be when I was in sixth or seventh grade, and I made like a little denim purse. My grandpa bought me this mini sewing machine, and I just wanted to make something, and I made a denim purse. I literally just sewed 2 rectangles together. I guess I would say I kind of inspired myself only because it's like really hard for me to find clothes that fit. I'm 4'9", I'm 86 pounds. So I have to like shop in the kids section a lot to find just like basic jeans that fit me. But I wanted to buy clothes that's for like women. So that's why I want to make petite clothes for women. I like the creativity of it. You can just be free with it and basically create a collection out of anything. I started my creative process by mind mapping. It's like a technique where you come up with 3 basic words and then you just add on other words to those basic words. And that's how you like narrow things down to come up like with the actual collection. The process of turning the sketch into the actual garment, because it never turns out exactly how you imagined it. I would say just be patient, because when I first started, I was very discouraged because my sewing wasn't up to par like other students, but I realized it literally just takes time, like it's a process.
So my first fashion memory, it was when I was a kid. I used to see my grandma sewing dresses for little girls. What inspired me to choose fashion career was my grandma also, and also my mom, because I like the way she wore colors and prints, and that inspired me. When I came here to the US, I wasn't interested before. I worked like an environmental engineer for 10 years in Colombia. And when I came here, I had the opportunity to explore more about that. And I decided to take some classes and know more about this, and I was in love with fashion. The way I start the process for the creative process for this project, I just choose what I am interested and I match, or I take details from everything. My inspiration was Yves Saint Laurent, the designer, and nature was the inspiration for this collection. It's inspired by outfits from 66 and 69. I took from those designs little details like pockets, collars, and I just used them with shapes from images that I was interested. One of the images, it has texture. I love texture in my designs, so I combine all of those, also colors and prints. So I love all of those things together. My favorite piece is the outfit with the jacket and the trousers. The hardest part for this process, it was the creative part. So I have many ideas, but sometimes I don't know how to organize those ideas because I can't start sketching without mood boards or pictures. So this is the hard part for me. In the future, I will remember this class like a fun class, interesting class, a learning process, because all of this is new for me.
My first fashion memory is taking sewing classes at Joann's. The first thing I made was a pillow and I hand stitched that. And then after that I continued to take classes. My family inspired me to continue pursuing fashion as a career. During quarantine, I picked up sewing again and I was studying athletic training. So I stopped and then I realized that I wanted to continue pursuing fashion, so I came to fashion school. I like studying fashion because it helps me take my ideas and put it on paper and also into fabric. So I started the process by looking up things that I wanted to pursue and research. So I started with the ocean and then I went to sea animals and I stuck with the jellyfish. My inspiration was jellyfish and their tentacles and their like arms that they have. So it was a lot of elements I could take from there and put into my garments. I'm most excited to see my cage dress finished. My hardest part was deciding and being sure with the colors in every single garment because I had a lot of ideas and I had to dwindle it down to just a few. My biggest challenge so far is trying to find fabrics that match my color story. I think I'll remember this class in the future as my first collection, and I'll be able to see the growth that I had from my first piece to where I am at that point. I would tell incoming fashion students to ask questions, get involved, and to love what they do.
My first fashion memory, it really stems all the way back from my childhood. Growing up, my dad sewed together every single Halloween costume because we always wanted to be some sort of fantasy, movie-inspired or video game-inspired character, and they just didn't exist in the Walmart department section. So my dad put together all of our costumes, and that's kind of what really got me into costuming, and I guess what now leads me to being here and being in fashion. Was there an event that made me choose fashion school? Honestly, yes. It really was the pandemic. I was kind of having a crisis. I was 25, I hadn't finished school, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I had no ambition, I had nothing going for me. And that's when I was able to start actually sewing a lot more for myself. And I realized I should go back to school and I should actually finish my degree. And so my husband helped me find schools, and I ended up finding College of DuPage. And with their online classes in the beginning, it really helped be able to kickstart finishing my school. And now I will officially finally be able to graduate this semester. What do I like about studying fashion? What is there not to like? I enjoy every single class. I enjoy every aspect of it. My absolute favorite is garment construction. I love sewing. I do it 8 to 10 hours a day, every single day of the week. So I can't get enough. My collection is inspired by historical fantasy. It's got a lot of historical elements, a lot of historical ways of sewing and constructing pieces, with corsetry and base garments and soutache braid, which is a Russian element that they would have used back in the early 1800s, along with smocking, which was very common in the 17th century because it helped with being able to make things multiple sizes. And the fantasy, I've always just been a huge nerd. I've always been drawn to the fantasy world. And so I wanted to create a collection for all of the badass women who want to be confident and comfortable in their own skin and show a little, but be just be very, very cool. My biggest inspiration to move towards fashion as a career would definitely be my husband. He brought me to my first Renaissance fair 10 years ago, and the second I walked through those gates, I knew I didn't know what I needed to do, but I needed to do all of this for the rest of my life. And starting right then, I started making my own garments for the Renaissance Fair, and pieces for my husband and pieces for our friends. And then my husband was encouraging me, saying I should sell them and they're great and you should do it. And I wasn't very confident in my skills. I didn't think I could do that, but I am successfully coming up on 2 years of successfully running a Renaissance Fair sewing clothing business, and I have partnerships across over out in Pennsylvania, and last year I actually got to travel the entire US to Renaissance fairs all over, and it's very exciting, and that would not have happened without him.
point of Spot is to be able to carry cameras and sensors and just as much as we can get into areas that we'd rather people not spend a lot of time. That can be areas that are radioactive, have contamination, dust. We don't want people going there. Send your robot. Well, we would like to protect our robot. So particularly with dust and radioactive contamination dust, we don't want that getting into sensitive parts of the robot where we can't clean it out and it just becomes a mess. We ended up reaching out to COD because our group leader, Mei Ling, already had a working relationship with COD, had worked with the students, and we figured if we want to protect our robot with personal protective equipment, we should talk to experts in the field that know how to do this properly. And it's a lot of fun working with students. They bring a creativity and just an energy to jobs that make it just a joy to work with them.
Our protective equipment, we had like prototypes, and we were working off of basically like a box. But now that we have the actual robot here, it's really great to be able to see how we can put it on and how we can fit it and see where everything lands.
I never thought we would ever work on a robot. It's not what you come to fashion school for typically, but it's been an amazing experience.
So we just fit the backside. We're going to flip him over and attach it, and then hopefully we can see if it stays on him as he moves. No, never thought fashion studies and Fermilab would be partners. It was such a unique opportunity, so we jumped on it, and I was so thankful that they reached out to us. You know, fashion design students don't always end up designing fashion, they design other things. And so this is a window into that knowledge of how to design and problem solve can be applied really to anything. And so we really do teach design. We apply it to fashion, but it really can be applied to anything. And now they have more opportunities, other things that they can look at and possibly design for.
My first fashion memory is getting my first leather jacket. The first garment I made was a pair of pajama pants. in 8th grade. I've always liked fashion, just dressing up and buying clothes, but I discovered my first Rick Owens show in freshman year of high school, so I wanted to pursue fashion as a career. The event that made me choose fashion school is graduating high school and deciding what to do with my life. The thing I like about studying fashion is how hard it is. In the beginning, I thought it was going to be easy, but it just increasingly got even harder. My creative process and my inspiration was going through all the vinyl that I collect and just picking records and basing the collection off those records I chose. My collection is based on oversized garments and the color black. And my favorite piece in the collection is a oversized wool overcoat. The thing I'm most excited to see finished is the wool overcoat. The hardest part of developing the collection was actually sitting down and developing the patterns for it. The biggest challenge so far is finding the correct fabrics I wanted to use and the cost of those fabrics. I think I remember the class fondly. I would tell the incoming students to take your time and slow down and not to rush any projects, and don't compare yourselves to any of the other students.
My first memory of fashion would have to be my mom's closet. I remember that she used to have these knee-high snakeskin boots, and they were just so bold and sleek, and she would always ask my opinion on what she should wear on like her nights out, and I would always say snakeskin boots. I've always sort of been into fashion since I was younger. I was sort of always drawn to finding my own personal style. I remember when I was taking a tour of COD, I stumbled upon the fashion hallway, and I just remember like getting chills like up and down my body, because I was just like, this really, like, I didn't know that like I could possibly do fashion as a career. So I just knew that it felt right. What I like about studying fashion is that I am able to share my vision with the world, and it's really important to me, but it also can speak to so many different audiences and make them feel a certain way when they see the clothing that I'm producing. I started the creative process pretty early on. I found a bunch of fabrics that I really liked, that I knew that I wanted in my collection. I am most excited to see my whole collection finished. I feel like you really get a good sense of the story once you see them all lined up together. So I'm just excited to see all of my pieces go down the runway. I will always remember this class. It's hard not to. I feel like all of the skills that I've gathered from this class speak to all areas of my life, not just creatively. So I'll definitely take everything that I'm learning from this class with me into my everyday life in the future.
inspired to go into fashion because I used to do, like from doing my costumes back years ago, I started to get into like cosplay and making my own like props and costumes and dressing up as characters. And it was really fun, and turns out I was really good at sewing. What I like about studying fashion is that I love to work with my hands and I love to make things, and that's what I really love to do. I just love seeing the process from like start to finish, just everything about it. For my collection, my inspiration was I looked at a lot of protective suits and armor, and I also pulled references from like post-apocalyptic type games and medias. I was looking at bomb suit, diving suits, and medieval armor too to pull into my collection. I wanted my collection to be like very protective, and I wanted it to have these very big oversized pieces that basically almost engulfed the wearer. My favorite piece of the collection would probably have to be the big coat that I'm working on. It goes like all the way from up here and it's almost down to the feet. And it just is a huge coat that almost engulfs the person that it's wearing. It's gonna be really cool. So the biggest challenge for this collection is probably to finish the whole thing, to get all of my little pieces sewn together and on the garment, because I have a lot of quilting. I have some details that I want to get in there, and I am hoping to be able to get as much as I can together. I will definitely remember this class. I think I will remember it fondly, because it's definitely like a big challenge to do a whole collection, but I think it really is a learning process, because I think I'm going to be able to learn so much from this, and I'm going to be able to take so much away. I'm very excited. I would tell incoming students to start as early as you can. Start gathering your ideas and writing down your concept as soon as possible, because it takes such a long time to just narrow down and decide what you want to go with. And it's also good to know exactly what you want to do going into the class, so you can just get started and just get rolling right away.